Hello everyone, my name is Nazareth, and today I wanted to tackle the question, what are the odds that we will draw two Pot of Desires when we activate Pot of Desires? Now, if you have ever drawn two Pot of Desires off of Pot of Desires, you'll know that it is such a bad feeling. And so that is what we're going to be tackling today, and we are going to be using some programming in order to run some simulations and answer this question. So the first thing I want to show you guys is this is my application that I'm going to be using. This is code that I wrote, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to read from a file. These are just text files, and the reason I have so many right now is because we're going to be testing all the different deck sizes, right? So in the case right here, we're going to draw 5 cards, and then the minimum of cards that we need in order to activate Pot of Desires, banish 10, and then draw 2 is we need at least 12 cards left in the deck, and that's what this is going to account for. And then this is going to be accounting for cases where you've done all your crazy combos and there's 17 cards left in the deck. This one's going to do all kinds of crazy combos, and there's 39 cards in the deck. And then, of course, if you are running a 60-card deck and you have, you draw your opening 5 cards, and then you activate Pot of Desires. So that's pretty much what all of these text files are for. And so let's go ahead and look at our application. So this is how our application runs. So first we're going to read from the file. So we're going to read one of those deck lists, and then we're going to run 100,000 simulations. So I feel like 100,000 is a pretty good sample size. I wanted to do 1 million, but honestly, it just took way too long to make a video for. So I'm going to go ahead and say 100,000 should be good enough. And what we want to think about is how exactly does Pot of Desires interact with the deck, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to, where is it? It says here, banish 10 cards from the top of your deck face down, and then draw 2 cards. So if I have a deck of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I'm going to banish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I'm going to pick up these 2. And what we're going to test in this video is basically, are these 2 Pot of Desires? We're going to find that out. Again, it's a horrendous feeling. You basically just want to scoop at that point. So we're going to go ahead and see how lucky or unlucky we are every time we draw those 2 Pot of Desires. So we're basically going to read from the deck list, and then I'm using an algorithm called the Fisher-Yates shuffling algorithm, and that you can find over here. This is the Fisher-Yates shuffle, and basically it's an algorithm for generating random permutation of a finite sequence. In plain terms, the algorithm shuffles the sequence. So when you're looking at computer data, it's not really set up like a deck of cards. So you kind of just have to maneuver your way around. I mean, there's different programming data structures called a stack, and that's basically what we're trying to replicate. So what the Fisher-Yates algorithm does is it's going to look at the last card in the deck, and it's going to shuffle it in a random order. Last card in the deck, shuffle it in a random order, and we're going to keep doing that all the way until we've hit the last card in the deck. So our deck is going to be fully shuffled. However, I don't want to draw a bunch of random hands and not have Pot of Desires. So I'm using what's called an augmented version of this shuffle. And well, augmented is just a term I'm using, but I'm just saying I put my own little twist on it. And the main difference that you'll see here for any of you programmers out there is that in the Fisher-Yates shuffle, you're starting from the very last card, and in my version of it, I'm starting from the second to last. And the reason that is because when we read from the file and we put it into an array, we're going to have a bunch of cards that are going to be cast to an array like this. And the last card is going to act like the top of the stack. So by skipping over the last card in the stack and shuffling every card under it, we can always guarantee that whatever is in the last whatever is the last card in these text files will be the card that is placed on top. That's why all of the pot of desires are here. These two, it doesn't really matter because they're going to get shuffled away, but the very last card always is going to be the card that we're going to guarantee that we always get. Because we're going to test 100,000 times, draw, activate, pot of desires, and seeing if we're going to be able to draw the other two pot of desires. So let's go ahead and look at my application again. And so what we're basically going to do is we're going to test also if it's unique, right? We can't draw our 5 cards, and then we can't activate pot of desires and draw the other 2 if we have another pot of desires in hand. So we need to make sure on all of our opening hands that there is one and only one pot of desires, and the other 2 are somewhere in our deck. And so once that is certain, we can go ahead and pretend to activate the card, and then what we'll do is we'll pop the next 10 cards off the deck, and then we'll draw the 2, and then we're going to be, that's where we draw the 2, and then we're going to basically be checking if we have not 1, but 2, we're going to add this in here, pot of desires at the end of our check. And we're going to also write it over here. Let me change this to double. I'm going to change this back once we run some other tests. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. And so yeah, so for every kind of deck size that we're going to be testing, it's all here in my files. So let's go ahead and let's get started with running some simulations. So over here, we're going to have our Node application. I'm using Node, and let's go ahead and look at some of our reports. So we have this double report and a single report. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is the double. So we want to test if we draw 2 pot of desires off of the pot of desires that we activate. And again, we are going to be simulating this 100,000 times. It can be kind of monotonous to deck test and write and do this all manually. So that's the beauty of computers, and we're going to go ahead and run that right now. The last bit of my code that I didn't explain was this part right here, and all you need to know is that it's going to basically create a report for me to look at some data, and you're going to see that go right now. So we're going to go ahead and activate our application and have it run. And you can see here the program is showing all the different simulations in which we actually drew 2 pot of desires off of our pot of desires. So I mean, this is 65 times. If you have a 60 card deck, you're going to draw your 5 cards, and you'll have 55 cards left in the deck. And oh geez, okay. And so out of 100,000 times, you only drew the 2 pot of desires 65 times. So I want to say with confidence that if you have a 60 card deck, you should be confident that when you play pot of desires, you are not going to draw the other 2 pot of desires. And as we're looking through our data right now, we can see it's nearly 0% no matter what the size of the deck, even when there is the bare minimum that you need to activate, in the case where you banish the top 10 and then you draw 2. It's 1%. It's 1 to 2%. It is so low. So if you have activated pot of desires and you drew the 2 pot of desires, 100,000 simulation says that you are extremely unlucky. The 3 that I want to point out most are this one right here, the cards in the deck. So if there's only 2 remaining in your deck after you've paid the cost, that actually did show up on that 1 to 2%. The other one, of course, was if you have a 60 card deck and you draw your 5 cards, the odds are so low. But the other one I really want to point out is this one right here, the 35 card deck. The reason I'm pointing out this one is because if you have a standard 40 card deck, you're going to draw your 5 cards for your opening hand, and in your opening hand you have your pot of desires, you activate it, you're only going to have 35 cards left in the deck, and it looks like it's still going to be 0.17% chance. So again, if you activated pot of desires and you drew those 2 pot of desires, I don't know, GG, well played. Just give up on at that point. The other thing I want to test is we're going to go ahead and run through it one more time. I just wanted to say, like, as far as programming, this isn't really necessary. It just looks a lot cooler when you're trying to explain programming, to see the computer thinking and running all the simulations and finding the results that we're looking for. So what we're going to do is, instead of looking for 2, I'm going to run one more test, and what we're going to do is we're just going to see what are the odds of drawing at least 1 pot of desires off of your opening pot of desires. And instead we're writing it to our double pot of desires report, we're going to write it to our single. Because this happens a lot, and pot of desires is really not a card you want to draw off of another pot of desires. So we're going to go ahead and just clear our screen, and then we're going to run our application again. And here we go, and it should write the report as soon as it's done. And as you can see, it's stuck in this deck size a lot longer because we are drawing at least 1 pot of desires a lot higher. And we can see that because the last time it was near 0%, now we're starting off at 7%. So 7% of the time, no matter what, you will always have the chance of drawing another pot of desires. Assuming that you have a well shuffled deck, of course. If you're stacking the deck, well then, you kind of ruins the experiment. So we're gonna go ahead and run through. And again, the 3 that that I find most interesting are always the 60 card deck start, and then the 40 card deck start. So when we get to the number 35, look, we're already at 10%. So if you have at least 39, so plus 5, which is 44. So if you have at least 44 cards in your deck, you will have, or if you have the minimum of 44 cards in your deck, you will have at least a 10% chance of drawing 1 pot of desires off of your other pot of desires. And it's this one right here, the 35, because this represents the 40 card deck. And we hit that 11,000 times. So it's about an 11% chance that you will draw a pot of desires off of your other pot of desires. And of course, these other deck sizes just represent, okay, well, we have a 60 card deck, we start doing our combo, and then we activate pot of desires. What are the odds we're going to draw one of the other 2? And this one should almost do. And looks like we're almost coming to an end. Oh, I thought the end was at 17. My bad. Yeah, so 12 is the minimum that we need. And look, we're already upwards of 30%. Well, we are definitely going to hit 30%. 31. All right, so you have a 31% chance if there are 12 cards remaining in deck and you activate Pot of Desires. You have basically a 1 in 3 chance of drawing that extra Pot of Desires and it becoming absolutely useless because you can't activate it. So yeah, this is my little application I wanted to do. I was really inspired by this programming video I saw on the Asilapiscu FTK, and I thought that was amazing. I wanted to try programming something related to Yu-Gi-Oh, and so I decided to tackle on this issue of what are the odds of that I draw 2 Pot of Desires off of my Pot of Desires. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go through these reports really slowly. So if anyone wants to look at these statistics and run the numbers themselves, you can go ahead and do so. So again, this represents the 60 card deck, and it is nearly 0% at pretty much any level or any amount of cards that you have in your deck, except for when you have less than 15. All right, so you can pause the video and watch that one. And then if you want the data from this one, I'm just going to scroll through it real quick, and you could just pause the video and write it. I'm sure some mathematician out there can make far better use of this data than I can. I just wanted to see how salty I should be when I draw those two potted desires, and it looks like I have every right to be salty because this is just unlucky. So thank you all for watching the video. I hope you guys found this enjoyable. Thank you for TeemTHE for letting me post this on their channel. You guys should check them out. They're pretty cool. They're fun. They're cool dudes. And hopefully I'll get around to making another coding type video with some other Yu-Gi-Oh situations. If you guys have any suggestions on what you would like for me to try a programming twist on, feel free to leave a comment in the video and just like the video. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.